Hello and welcome to Computer Tech and More. Today we're going to be taking a look at the CFlex 2 Slim fan. And this is part of my redone series where I redid all my noise testing analysis for every single fan I've tested thus far. So I have a little bit of an explanation and then let's get right in. So I've got a short video on my channel for what my old testing methodology is versus my new testing methodology. But the main points of difference are in my old testing methodology, the accuracy was plus or minus 4 decibels, so that is an 8 decibel range, and let's remember that every 10 decibels is a doubling in noise volume. While the new testing methodology is accurate to within plus or minus 2 decibels, so that is a 4 decibel range. That is a huge improvement. Unfortunately, in order for me to get to the next step, I can't do it without help from viewers like you to subscribe to this channel. I greatly appreciate if you could help me out on Patreon and join me as a Patreon there. That would be a huge step forward in being able to acquire a better microphone specific for noise testing. Being able to build a noise isolating chamber, not a room, just a little chamber. A better anemometer, that's like $500. And being able to acquire more fans, rebuild my test equipment, just basically everything in general to do with this testing. It would all go directly into that overall process. Methodology is more of an open air environment, so we're going to be using that going forward. And a little bit of explanation of what we're going to be taking a look at here. So I've got my original testing methodology on the right side, new testing methodology on the left side, and we're going to have the rank of the fan, the model of the fan, the RPM, and the airspeed. And at 100% CFM or 100% PWM signaling, there's going to be a noise level that the fan generated. If you're new to my channel, I encourage you to watch the second half of this video where I go over each testing specifically and give great detail as to what each test is and why it's important. If you're familiar with this channel and the fan videos that I've produced, you can just watch this overview, and that basically gives you a was now scenario, which pretty much is all you need for knowing how a fan did versus how it does now. All right, let's go into the specifics. All right, first up for comparative results is the cooler noise normalized testing for the KazeFlex 2 Slim Edition. And I do have the A12x15 highlighted, circled as well, because it is the other slim fan that I've tested so far. So originally, the KazeFlex 2 Slim was rated 32nd. It is now ranked 47th, so an overall pretty significant drop in positioning. The A12x15 was ranked 31. It is now ranked 34. So a little bit of a drop, but not overall that much. And it only lost 10 RPM, but it did lose 0.1 meters per second of air. In terms of cooler testing at 100% PWM fan signaling, the KazeFlex 2 was ranked 41 and retains that position. The A12x15 was ranked 37th and retains that position as well. In cooler testing noise normalized value proposition, the KazeFlex Slim, apparently I circled the wrong one, was ranked 24th. It is now ranked 46th, so overall a pretty significant drop in value proposition, while the A12x15 was ranked 37th and is now ranked 30th, so an overall improvement in positioning. In terms of cooler value at 100% PWM fan signaling, this time I circled the right one, the KazeFlex was ranked 24th and retains that position. The A12x15 retains its position at 33. CFM testing, noise normalized. The KazeFlex Slim was ranked 23rd and is now ranked 43rd. The A12x15 was ranked 31 and is now ranked 37. At 100% PWM fan signaling, the KazeFlex was ranked 34th and retains that position. The A12x15 was ranked 36th and retains that position. CFM value proposition, noise normalized. The KazeFlex Slim was ranked 17th and is now ranked 27th. The A12x15 was ranked 35 and is now ranked 30th. CFM value at 100% PWM fan signaling, the KazeFlex Slim was ranked 20th and retains that position. The A12x15 was ranked 30th and retains that position. Next, we're on to the case airflow test. Noise normalized, 6-inch mark. The KazeFlex Slim was ranked 28th. It is now ranked 44. The A12x15 was ranked 31 and is now ranked 25. So overall, a great improvement in positioning for the A12x15. In terms of The 11-inch mark, noise normalized. The KazeFlex Slim was ranked 15th. It is now ranked 29th. The A12x15 was ranked 38th and is now ranked 36th. In terms of value proposition, noise normalized, 6-inch mark. The KazeFlex Slim was ranked 20th and is now ranked 30th. The A12x15 was ranked 30th and is now ranked 22nd, so an overall improvement there. The 11-inch mark, noise normalized. The KazeFlex Slim was ranked 10th and is now ranked 20th. The A12x15 was ranked 37th and retains that position. Alrighty then, we are on to the specific tests for each of the fans. So first up is the case airflow test. This can be looked at in a couple key different ways, and it depends on what you care about most. So kind of the most important one for us PC builders is how good is this fan for my particular size case, and beyond that, my particular application. So what do I mean by that? Well, I have a couple key data points, 6, 9, 11, and 14.5-inch mark. The 6-inch mark is representative of a small form factor case that is still a front-to-back airflow, air-cooled CPU. So liquid coolers are different, and ultra-compact cases that suck in air from the sides, blow it out the top, suck in air from the bottom, blow it out the top, are a bit different. Those are more of a pressure application, meaning that you need more static pressure in those fans to push past all those components, so not really applicable to the open air environment that my case simulation test is. And the reason you want this is you want the maximum airspeed hitting your CPU cooling fan as possible, because this just greatly improves the efficiency of the airflow traveling through the case. You don't want to have the exit fans having to really work hard to suck the air up to get it out. You'd rather them just have to take it in and blow it out. And this goes for actually blowing the air through the cooler as well. You don't want to have it work to suck the air to it, because it means that the fan is having to work even harder, and you may lose a little bit of performance on your cooler in those type of applications. So what was I saying? The 6-inch mark is representative of the small cases and also short throw distance. What do I mean by that? Well, the example that comes to my mind the easiest is the Fractal Design Torrent and Torrent series of cases have that bottom area that you can attach extra fans to that blow directly into your GPU. Well, that would be that short throw distance that the 6-inch mark is very representative of. So then we have the 9-inch mark. The 9-inch mark is representative of a compact tower. Now, I can't think of one off the top of my head other than like the Dell Optiplexes, which are like their business computers. So that would be representative of a compact tower. Again, air-cooled systems. The 11-inch mark is representative of a mid-tower case. This Corsair Stormtrooper case, the Corsair 550D, the Meshify 2C. Basically, whatever you think of as a bog standard mid-tower case that holds standard ATX-sized motherboards, that is the 11-inch mark. Again, front to back airflow, not the side intakes. The 14.5-inch mark is representative of a big tower. Something like the Fractal Design Torrent with the front case fans would actually be representative of that. Now, what is this actually indicating? This indicates how well the fan actually blows air. So what you don't want to see is a fan that starts off at a really high airspeed and then just drops off immediately. That indicates that the fan spews air off to the side in a wide flow pattern. This is not ideal behavior for a fan ever. Ever, ever, ever. Don't buy it. Even in high static applications, I truly believe that airflow fans or airflow style fans, if they have in terms of the concentrated airflow, not the blade design, concentrated airflow is ideal. Because in a pressure application, the air is going to spread out through the entire fin array anyways. So it doesn't matter that this one shoots air off to the side. Because it means that the more concentrated airflow is more versatile. So if you want to use your fan on a radiator in a pull configuration, the airflow pattern out the back will be the same or highly similar to as if it was no restriction in the front. If you're going to be putting the radiator behind the fan, so in a standard push configuration, the radiator acts as a flow straightener, so it technically doesn't matter what you have, but you do want a good amount of air speed coming out the other end of it. So if the fan is too bad at blowing air through something, because it's shooting it all off to the sides, then the airspeed coming out the back end won't be particularly high, thus actually having a reduced performance. And this just is a dictating picture on the side, so showing how air spreads out in an open air environment. So all of that said, we have 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100% PWM fan signaling. And you'll notice that these are trend lines, not exact lines. So let's actually go to the next graph here. So the next graph here is comparing these fans against my control fan. My control fan is based 3 parts off the A12x15 to 1 part A14, creating my own meshed blended fan to what I consider a good fan and a fan that other fans should strive to beat. And right away, right off the bat, we see that the A12x15 and the KazeFlex 2 Slim are underperforming my control fan. This isn't that much of a surprise considering that both fans are very slim and thus have less blade area to work the air. So it's overall a pretty good result for them, however they are underperforming. Kind of an interesting result though is the A12x15 having a steep drop off in airspeed at the 11-inch mark, and then it actually increased a little bit at the 14.5-inch mark. Why it has this behavior, I don't know. I need to do more testing, but this was repeatable for me. So, okay, basically. How are things at 100% PWM fan signaling? Well, the A12x15 gets very close to my control fan, indicating that it is a actually pretty good blade design for case airflow testing. And over here on the side, we have the RPM the fan was running as well as the noise level was generated. So the KazeFlex 2 is a bit noisier than the A12x15. And the KazeFlex 2 isn't in a terrible position, but it's just not quite as good. Now, how do they compare against other fans? So this first one is noise normalized results, and the A12x15 actually is kind of in the middle of the pack, other than it dropping off at the 11-inch mark, and then it kind of bounces back to being in the middle, while the KazeFlex 2 Slim is pretty well at the bottom of the graphs. There's just not much to say about it sitting where it is. Mind, it does better than several other fans like the T30 and the S12B right here, but it is what it is. How about at 100% PWM fan signaling? Well, they're in the bottom middle of the graphs. So I have what I consider to be good fans, medium fans, and then bad fans. And they're sitting in the bottom middle. So they're okay. So if you need a fan to fit into your case and you only have a spot for a slim one, know that you're not getting a terrible fan. But they're just not quite as good as the thicker fans. And I hope to be able to test more slim fans in the future. Next up is the 9-inch data point. And I want to do a brief explanation here. So you'll notice that fans tend to have drop-off points where they become a lot less efficient, in this case airflow test. And a lot of fans, I noticed it at the 9-inch mark. Obviously, the A12x15 is an exception. But if the airspeed drops too far below 0.5 meters per second, my data accuracy gets a lot less consistent. So I needed to pick an average data point for when fans started to drop off that I could still get good consistent data. So the 9-inch mark was chosen. So now that I've spilled the beans as to why, the KazeFlex 2 Slim starts off pretty well as one of the worst fans, and then it kind of climbs very vertical for quite some time, indicating that it has certain efficiency curves in it, and then it becomes just worse than a lot of other fans. While the A12x15 has a much more linear looking improvement in airspeed versus noise level through the cooler. Or not in the cooler, in my case, simulation test.
Scythe KazeFlex Slim. Thru, A12x15.
How are things through my CPU or cooler? My cooler is the NF-A12x15, so that is the reference point. All the fans were tested with just one fan in a push configuration going through the cooler. And we have on the left side, airspeed versus RPM. On the right side, airspeed versus noise. Going back to both these two graphs, both of them in the top left indicates a better fan. Bottom right is a worse fan. Focused on the left side, this is a airspeed versus RPM, which is a blade efficiency. This is how much air does the fan push at a given RPM. The right side is how much air does it push for a given noise level. Both are important, just in different ways. And apparently I chose the wrong data point. Why did I choose the F12-3000? Well, that's kind of funny. But so we're going to just focus on the A12x15 here, and it follows my control fan very closely. Whoops. On the left side here, or right side here, we have the KazeFlex and the A12x15. And in terms of noise efficiency, both of them are under my control fan, which is a little bit disappointing. But not overall a surprise, but overall an okay result, except for the KazeFlex. It's particularly noisy. Next, how do the fans compare against, well, a boatload of other fans? This is not my entire data set. This is just a subsample selection for fans in particular categories. So first and foremost, the key on the side here. This is a wattage equals an airspeed. So I actually have a video on my channel where I did extensive testing on my cooler, the U12A, and I let the CPU run at thermal max, and I started off at 100% PWM fan signaling, and I backed it off at 10% increments and let it come to a steady state at each increment, and I had my anemometer at the back of the fan at the cooler so I could measure the airspeed going through it. And I was able to determine what airspeed equates to what wattage. And this is for my CPU, the 11700K, on this cooler. So if you have a different CPU than me, your wattages may not line up perfectly. If you have a different cooler than me, the wattages won't line up. So then you might be asking, well, how can I use this data? Well, an easy example would be if you need that slim fan. So if you got the KazeFlex 2 Slim, it's moving 0.4 meters per second of air. Again, this is through my cooler. But if you upgrade to the A12x15, it's going to push more air for that same noise level. So you would actually now have a CPU that can run cooler if you're limiting the wattage going through it, or the clock speeds in the end. Or you can now have in your unlocked CPU, now your CPU can run a higher wattage for the same noise level. Or you can take this extra overhead back off your PWM fan signaling, and now you have a fan that'll run, or a PC that'll run a little bit quieter for the same original wattage. It's your choice how you want to use it. How much improvement, meaning how much extra wattage, is hard for me to say. So same way it's hard for me to tell you how much extra cooling it has. But note, you would get the extra performance in one way or another by going with a fan that is on the upper end of the chart if you're starting off with a fan at the lower end. I didn't really say the A12x15, obviously kind of in the middle of the graphs, actually not in an overall bad position, considering that all the other fans on here, than the two circled one, are full thickness fans. The KazeFlex Slim, on the other hand, is a little bit on the lower side. There are other fans that are better than, but ironically, it did outperform the KazeFlex 2, the thick version of the same fan. In terms of airspeed at 100% PWM fan signaling, again, the same sort of key on the side. The A12x15 and the Slim KazeFlex have very similar performance, but the A12x15 is overall better. But both of them are shifted towards the bottom of the graphs when you're comparing against other fans. What is very interesting is that their noise level is not that much, is within the same ballpark as other fans spinning at similar RPMs. So that is a good indicator of at least top-end noise performance for these fans. So to reiterate that point, we now have airspeed going through my CPU or cooler versus noise. And I did only pick out like better fans for this graph just to indicate how far they are from the best. But it's pretty clear that both of them in terms of noise efficiency aren't too far off. depending on what data point you're looking at. The KazeFlex is a little bit farther away than the A12x15. The A12x15 actually lines up pretty well at higher RPMs, but isn't that great at lower ones. And the KazeFlex has this peak efficiency right here, where it's pushing around 1.3-ish meters per second of air, but then it kind of levels out and doesn't do quite as well overall. Overall, I call them okay. The KazeFlex, the Control, and the A12x15 all line up near on perfectly, which drives home the point I was just making. Now, noise testing. This is where we start to see differences because each fan has different efficiencies in terms of its motor design and blade design for how noisy they run. And both of them are underperforming compared to my Control fan, and they're actually pretty close to identical to each other. So how do they rank compared to other fans? Well, the KazeFlex Slim is towards the bottom. It is below the A12x15, so that is a little bit disappointing in this test. How about at 100% PWM fan signaling? Well, here the KazeFlex Slim outperformed the A12x15. As a matter of fact, the Slim Edition completely outperformed its full thickness brethren. Why? I don't know. I know that when I've tested scythe fans in my CFM chamber, it's short and my anemometer fills up most of this back area of it. Don't do particularly well on it. The Scythe Wonder Snail, the KazeFlexes, other than the slim one, all perform very badly in my CFM test, which is why I like to actually upgrade it to make a longer tube and have more of a cone shape, so that I can make it more unified for 140s and 120s all in the same testing apparatus. Let's move on to the next section of the video. I jumped ahead of myself. We have noise, CFM versus noise, and both these two fans are shifted towards the bottom, but they are not in a terrible position. They are actually outperforming the Silent Wings 4 Pro by a little bit. So they are actually okay, just maybe not the best. So note that you're not getting a terrible choice, but if you can afford to stick a full thickness fan in it, you probably want to go with one of those. First, how much are each of these fans? The KazeFlex Slim is a $17 fan, and the A12x15 is a $22 fan. And these were as retail pricing that I could find on Amazon. So note that in these graphs, as prices fluctuate for these fans, the value proposition of them does vary because this is just performance per dollar. And who's this data specifically for? Well, if you're on an ultra tight budget, you want to pay special attention to it because you're after getting the best bang for your buck. If you've got a little bit of extra money to work with and you want to get something that's a little bit quieter, a little bit higher performance, a little bit RGB, whatever it may be, you would use this data with the earlier graphs to determine which fan best suits your particular needs. And if you've got a limited budget, just buy whichever fan you want. So in terms of value proposition, the A12x15 in the 6-inch mark, noise normalized in my case airflow test, is actually slightly higher value than the KazeFlex, but they are far cry away from the top performers like the TLG12. So that's why I say if you can fit a full thickness fan, you may want to go with that. At the 6-inch mark, at 100% PWM fan signaling, the KazeFlex 2 Slim outperforms the A12x15 by a little bit, but both of them are kind of in the middle of the road. In terms of value proposition at the 11-inch mark, noise normalized, the KazeFlex Slim outperforms the A12x15, again, noise normalized mark, but they're still a far cry away from the top performer, and they're actually on the bottom side of the average line. At 100% PWM fan signaling, they are functionally at the average mark and are functionally the same overall value proposition, which is very interesting. Next, we are on to value proposition through the CPU or cooler, noise normalized, and 100% PWM fan signaling. The A12x15 is a better value proposition at noise normalized values. When we're looking at 100% PWM fan signaling, the KazeFlex Slim is a better value overall. But the A12x15 is sort of in the average mark, while the KazeFlex is on the better side, but both of them are again on far cry away from the top performers here. So again, I'd only recommend them if you don't have room for a full thickness fan of the better value picks or of a better performing pick. Next, we're on to CFM testing, and the KazeFlex Slim is particularly good here compared to the two fans, but they are far cry from the best fans. And that is true at the 100% mark, where the KazeFlex Slim actually breaks away from the A12x15 and is kind of in the upper half of being good in terms of its value, while the A12x15 is kind of in the more middle of the pack good. So this is where it comes down to what are your particular set of needs. So if you only have room for a slim fan, again, I've only tested two, but let's say you're deciding between these two. If you're on a tighter budget, would you go with the Flex Slim because it's a little bit cheaper and a lot of times it has a better value in certain applications? Or would you go with the better performance overall of the A12x15? They are relatively speaking close in price, so you got to take it all. So if the A12x15 is on sale, it becomes a no-brainer. But at standard retail pricing, it's a little bit of a harder pick. All right, let's move on to my wrap-up section. All right, we finished the video. At the end of every video, I do like to show off my raw data. This data does belong to me. However, if you want to use it for your own personal use, that means using it to create your own Excel charts and templates. You are more than welcome to do so. However, if you're going to use it in any sort of publication, I do ask that you reference me and my channel, as I am the one who generated this data. And publication or journal, I'm talking about written, journal, or video. Reference me. It takes me about 1.5 to 2 hours per fan to do this level of data collection and testing. It takes many more hours to neaten up the graphs, make my overall presentation script, and then video record it, and then of course editing it out. So I ask that you just reference me because it's a lot of effort to do this stuff, and I like the data collection part. Doing the videos is hard, but I was doing it, so I might as well share it. If you got suggestions for fans for me to test in the future, please leave them in the comment sections down below. I do read all my comments. And if you've got constructive criticism for me on how to improve my videos, I do take all of that seriously. So I want to improve my videos for all of you to make it a better viewing process. Just note that it may take a while for it to be implemented because I tend to do a lot of recording all at once and then piece it out over time. So it may take time for your improvements to be implemented in my videos. Other than that, I really appreciate you if you hit that subscribe button if you like my content and want to see more of it. And I really would appreciate it if you would check out my Patreon page. Everything would go into helping me acquire better testing equipment and acquiring, well, more product. Because I am just me by myself, no sponsorships at all or anything like that right now. Other than that, have a great day. I hope to see you next time here on Computer Tech and More. And, well, bye.